Thank you very much, Father Michael, and thank Becca and then Paul for sharing your story. It's a very concrete story, and is exactly the kind of story I would like to hear as a Chinese Catholic. And for me, I'd like to start by talking from my beginning. So I was born in the early 1990s in Tianjin, China, and I was born in a family without any religious background or knowledge. And my family pretty much accepted the dominant view of religion at the time, which is to see religions as distracting, misleading, and even dangerous. But however, at the same time, I was also exposed to religions in my early childhood through a few things, such as the Children's Encyclopedia, so which has sections on culture and technology, but also there are entries on religions, such as the Trinity. I remember there's an entry on Trinity. I was fascinated by it. It was a secular encyclopedia, but talk about religious insights and concepts. There are also books on the stories of Jesus and Buddha, etc. I don't think you can buy the Bible from the bookstore, but you can buy books on the stories of Jesus and Buddha, at least at that time. Now, you have internet, you can access anything on the internet. So I have since my childhood, I have a vague awareness of the existence of religions, plural religions, and more importantly, awareness that there are good religions and bad religions. And because religions can wield great power among people, it is important to distinguish the good ones from the bad ones. So my suggestion, based on my background, is likely that many other Chinese students will have similar backgrounds. They have a dominant view of religions from the culture they inherit, but they also have interesting personal journeys in terms of the things they observed about religion. So for campus ministers in the US, it will be helpful to be aware this reality, and that the fact that Chinese students can have very diverse and very complicated backgrounds and personal experiences. And college years is often a pivotal year because many students want to make sense of their past in light of their future, and make sense of their future in light of their past. So this is especially the case for Chinese students who are dealing with extra-cultural social transitions, even though this is a reality for all students, all college students almost. But this differences and transitions in terms of cultural and social ones, these are not disadvantages. These are not to be seen negatively. These are actually opportunities for Catholicism to play a positive role and a long-lasting role to make an influence on people's lives. Just like the small things I mentioned, there are small things in my childhood that actually impact me in a big way when I grow up. Similarly, things that we can do in the college years for Chinese students can reap great benefits in future years. So I think in my context, the USC Catholic Campus Ministry does a very, very good job. So they have wonderful events and programming, many collaborations with other institutions on campus and off campus, as well as their campus ministers providing a lot of personal conversation spaces and other forms of spending quality time with students. And sometimes even after students graduate, there are still quality time. I went back to USC, I still spend time with campus minister there. So these are really great ways, as I said, to plant the seed for the future, to really understand how a person can grow, to make those early investments. And then to plant the seed, I really mean it in a very biblical gospel sense, okay? So that's the first point I want to mention. The second point I want to mention is after I come to USC. Well, the reason why I came to USC and studied computer science, so I have almost the same major as Paul. The reason why I did so is because my dad taught me how to do computer programming while I was in second grade, very early on, and then I just started learning about. I like doing it ever since. So like many Chinese college students, they choose their career based on what they already know and what they may enjoy doing in the future and for the rest of their lives. But at the same time, people are looking for new possibilities. People have a lot of curiosity about this life, about the world. So college campus, college life is actually a really great place for many people to experience and to realize that there is more to life than what they're already aware of. So I became involved in a few philosophical clubs. So clubs where people talk about different philosophies and cultures. So as you know, philosophy has a very huge learning curve, for people who are not familiar. And there are a lot of things I don't understand. But from what I understand, I can hear that these are really interesting and fulfilling discussions. And the questions they raised are very, very important. So these philosophical discussions led me or prepared me to be interested in religious perspectives or answers to these philosophical problems. So as campus ministers, I would recommend you to identify the particular interests and gifts and the specialties of Chinese students that may have huge impact on how they understand Catholicism, to see the Chinese students as more than their own career. Of course, their career may have a huge impact, but there's also more than their career. People may be interested in philosophy or social justice, or they may have their own religious background, a lot of issues, right? So I think these are all driving them to become interested in Catholicism and to benefit from the Catholic perspective. And this is where I think the USC Catholic Center does very well as well, because we have a lot of intellectual and thoughtful students, and the campus ministers are really taking initiative in engaging with the students on the intellectual levels. Even in my RCA program, I remember I was really accompanied by other students becoming Catholics who are engaging in this kind of discussion between career, interest, and Catholic faith. And then the campus ministers and our donors are very much encouraging this direction. So that's the second point. The third point is, after I came to USC, I spent a few years, and then I became Catholic, but through Protestants on campus. So this is why it's interesting, because many Catholic students will be in a similar situation where they didn't get to know Catholicism directly, but they got to know Catholicism indirectly through Protestantism or through other people talking about Catholicism. So in this case, Chinese students will have indirect or secondhand knowledge about Catholicism vis-a-vis or in comparison with other alternative religious or non-religious perspectives. And that's very important to remember. So when you come to see a Chinese students, they are not necessarily have no understanding of Catholicism. They may have a good understanding of it, but it may be biased or incomplete because of the other things that other people say. So in my case, the Protestant ministries are very popular on campus. And my classmates and my roommates are actually Christians. So they tell me to join them for service and Bible study groups. And there's one important detail, is that many of them are Asian. So that many of my classmates and then my roommates who invited me to the Bible study groups or church services, they are Asian. They may be born in the US, but they are Asian and they really want to reach out to other Asians. I think this has a huge impact on the Chinese Catholics, the Chinese students in the US. This may be also due to the LA demographic, but I think there are similar phenomena across the US as well, especially in the age of internet. So, and then what's interesting is that a lot of these Protestants who reach out to Chinese students, many of them are actually fallen away Catholics. So they had bad experience with Catholicism when they grew up in Catholic families, and they actually have they lack of a proper Catholic education. So they would attack Catholicism because of the traditional Reformation argument, let's say between grace versus works, right? Those kind of arguments. So they help perpetuate anti-Catholic misconceptions. And I think this is something that the campus ministers should be more aware of and more trained, more prepared to do. But to be honest, I still like the Catholic Church, not because I see this as antithetical with Protestantism. It's more like my preference, because when I come to the Catholic Church, they didn't just give me pamphlets and join me to service. They actually reached out to me and willing to have conversation with me to get to know me equal to equal. So when my roommates or my classmates who are Protestants give me pamphlets, I'm interested in the notion of salvation and sin that are mentioned in pamphlets, but they didn't talk to me directly. It doesn't feel like a good way to evangelize, because it feels like they're talking down to me or trying to brainwash me to join their group instead of having a genuine conversation. So that's where I think Catholic ministry has a unique advantage, because many Catholic ministries don't pay as much attention about numbers, popularity, or enthusiasm as some of the Protestant ministry do. Instead, the people in the Catholic community are really intentional and honest and respectful, and they are concerned with forming long-lasting connections. And this is why I think a really good and strong campus ministry can provide, is to guide other people to be more Christ-like. So I think campus ministers themselves should become people who can embody this Christ-like properties, to be willing to have honest conversations, offer a listening ear, be trustworthy mentors, treat others as you would wish other people treat you, and also care about people who are marginalized and disadvantaged, and really respect people who have disagreements. So, I mean, respect people even in the case of disagreements. So I think these are great attributes. These are great virtues that Catholic campus minister can embody. So I think, the other thing is campus ministers have a lot of responsibility. So I would not expect all the campus ministers to be equally trained and informed about Catholic Protestant debates. But I think at least one thing one can do is to be more attentive and more mindful, to be ready to listen, to answer questions, to refer to Chinese students who are interested in Catholicism to the proper resources. So I think just be more overall prepared and then more attentive to their needs is very, very important. And then finally, I think there's also the life beyond the college life. So when Catholics, if Chinese students become Catholics, or even Chinese students may not become Catholic, they still have a sense of vocation, who they're going to marry, what kind of job they want to be in. So that's where I agree with Paul in the sense that there should be a sense of friendship being formed, where Chinese students will see how the campus ministers deal with and embody their own vocation and their approach to a variety of vocations, whether it's taking care of one's own biological family or spiritual family of friends, or the church family. So it depends on a variety of vocations that the campus ministers have considered. The campus minister should embody that so that Chinese students will be able to make very good choices to know this is the kind of person they would like to be in deep friendship with and to follow as an example. And in the case of Chinese students who are Catholic or who do become Catholic, they will have a really good Catholic friend to refer to. They will have a better understanding of where in the church they will belong. So instead of just falling off radar after graduation, they will go to find another church they will find a huge, deep belonging in, and to make new friends. But I think the good news is that it sounds like there's a lot of things the campus administrators have to learn, but the good news is that you don't really have to learn in order to be an expert on China or Chinese students. All you need to do is to be more Christ-like by listening, attending to people's needs and supportive, to learn all these things organically. So forming a habit of organic learning is hard, just like forming any habit, like playing piano or exercising or dieting. But once the habit is formed, doing all these things out of habit can be very easy or even effortless, if not enjoyable. So I wish all the Catholic campus ministers will have an enjoyable experience forming these habits and spending time with Chinese students. Thank you.